Hi, I'm Professor Beck Strah.
And I'm Professor Eric Bronson. And this is Prison Breakdown.
2, 3, break!
Hate to spoil his fun, but we're gonna bust out of here.
2, 3, break!
I'm locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
2, 3, break!
I can honestly say I'm a changed man. No danger to society here. God's honest truth.
2, 3, break!
I'm not leaving this cell. I'll get out my way. The right way.
2, 3, break!
Ahoy, dudes! Welcome back to Prison Breakdown. What's going
Ahoy.
on? Eric Bronson. How you doing, my man?
I tell you what, there's a lot of good stuff going on because, the hurricane has pulled away from the ocean or from the coast over here, and we've got normal waves and schools getting ready to start at our wonderful Roger Williams University. Students are showing up and things are looking alive around here. It's an exciting time of year for many reasons. Very exciting time of year.
Do you think the school had anything to do with the hurricane going away? Like we were able to control the weather?
Yes.
And get it out of there?
The ghost of Roger.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
blew it away from the coast.
As we know, universities famously run by liberals. Liberals famously can control the weather.
Yes.
According to some of the more interesting people online at the moment. And so it makes sense. It makes sense.
We have a weather controlling machine on top of our library, just for those people who are going to tour. If you go up to the third floor of the library and then go up onto the roof, the physics department actually holds astronomy classes up there from time to time at night where they stargaze, but they also control the weather from time to time.
Oh, that's cool, man. I always thought that was like an AC unit, but to find out it controls the weather is like double.
It's behind it. It's behind the AC unit.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, when you think about it, AC units do control the weather indoors.
That's a very good point.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Wait,
it is.
Can we make it rain indoors?
I mean,
of course.
Enough AC units.
If your AC unit starts leaking, yes.
Yeah. I was going to say, you just need a hose from the bathroom sink, right? You can just spray anyone.
Yeah, how humid you could foster a rain cloud indoors if you had like enough AC units.
Enough humidity.
So here's a fun thing. The buildings, the fabrication plants at Boeing up in Everett are so large that they do have their own weather patterns and weather systems, and oftentimes it will rain inside the buildings if it gets humid enough.
No,
nice.
Wait, that's so goofy.
Mm-hmm.
That's
think
fantastic.
That be able to control weather enough to get that out of there. Like a dehumidifier is enough to chase that out of there.
You gotta have a huge AC unit to do that,
They are some of the biggest buildings in the world, right?
Correct. They are, I believe, the biggest buildings in the world. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Here in Rhode Island, we have some submarine building hangars, and I thought those were huge, but check it out. Boeing's got some bigger ones. That's the news.
That's exciting stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about, before the podcast, we were talking about ventriloquism. And I've like when I was younger, I tried to throw my voice, and it's a very hard thing to get right.
Mm-hmm.
Are there going to be any like Gen Z, Gen Alpha ventriloquists? Is this a dead art?
That's a good question. One of my high school friends, teammates on the football team, his sister actually toured, Liz Trevster. That's how she made a living. Getting up there on stage as a ventriloquist, and she had her dummies or puppets, whatever you want to call them. All right. And, you just don't see anybody new doing this anymore. I think AI is too exciting. Computer is too exciting, right?
No, I want to see ventriloquism. A computer,
I do too, but
AI,
I think
AI can't throw their voice
nowadays
into a puppet.
We're three analog boys in a
digital world.
Everything is computer world.
Right. When you have companies selling sex dolls that are controlled by AI, obviously that people are buying so that they can have a partner in some type that's going to replace people being like entertained by a puppet.
Now here's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see an adult production where someone has one of those sex dolls and they throw their voice into it.
Oh, there you go. Yes.
It's their own voice parroted back to them.
Yes, yeah. And so they're like, oh, yeah. And the doll's like, oh, yeah. And
there was a documentary, I think it was on Netflix, called My Sex Robot. And it was like these three guys who, like, they were like the saddest types of like misanthropic nerds, like three different types of sad. Mm-hmm. And they were all like trying to create a sex robot and
to share.
No. They were each like trying to create their own different.
Okay. I thought like they were working on a prototype that they could.
Yeah, I fell asleep before I could finish it. Never got back because I was like, that's too weird. But yeah, I like the idea that they have representation out there somewhere. These kinds of creeps.
Yeah.
Do we like that they have representation? I mean, I'm okay with the world without those guys.
It ensures us content when we teach deviant behavior in our courses.
That's true. You need some fodder there.
It's not like Chads who are coming up with these sex robots in competition.
Right.
To be looked up to. These are guys to be pitied.
Yeah. Good point.
Give it a watch, team. Let us know in the comments if.
But what about the ventriloquism in the prisons? That's where we were going with this before. I think I sidetracked us.
Yeah, so I think this would be a skill that could be taught in prisons, right? You want more analog skills to be taught in prisons. They can't have computers. Why not ventriloquism?
Yeah, I mean, and you could teach them, dummy building courses, where they build their own puppets.
Honestly, that would be really cool. I think you could smuggle too much in a ventriloquist dummy.
Okay.
But wouldn't it be cool to leave prison and be like walking down the highway with your ventriloquist dummy?
Or would let's think like our current administration here, right? Would teaching people how to throw their voices create a safety concern because inmates would be able to throw their voices in the cell block and they distract the officers?
That's true. All right. I think we've identified all the safety concerns that are possible with this and identified that maybe it's a bad idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be.
I'm going to dig into this further. There might be enough for an episode here. If not, you guys don't get an episode. If there is, we're talking ventriloquism for an hour, baby.
Yeah, love it.
There's nothing we love more than talking about inane bullshit like that, or more on juggling in prisons.
Right.
Episode.
That's fun. But I think today we have to have a serious conversation here, don't we?
I guess so. I think we have to get back to talking about Alligator Alcatraz. I don't have a rap this time. I'm sorry. Last time was very inspired.
It was, yeah. But the more we learn about it and the more that's going on with people it's just such a sad situation, that it's hard to go, let's have another rap about it or a peppy song about Alligator Alcatraz.
Yeah, completely agree. We're going to save our news for the end of today when Eric is going to give us an update on Alligator Alcatraz. So how about we tap right into the main vein and get to that main event?
Main event? All right. Let me just do a live. Here we go. We're going live. I'm doing a live song here.
Yes.
Main events. Main events.
Producer Britt, I got to compliment you. That was a sick beat.
Thank you. That's
I was getting ready. Had it kept up, I was getting ready to start pumping my fist.
yeah. That's actually a beat from my newest album. From the artist name is and the album is soundtrack. So
Yeah.
if you're interested, check that out.
Yeah, definitely. And it's that's going to be up on the charts really quickly.
Totally.
Now we're talking Alligator Alcatraz, my friends. We talked about it last time. Let me catch you up.
Yes,
you
sir.
New listener. The rationale for the facility. President Trump said that pretty soon this place will house some of the most menacing migrants, some of the most vicious people on the planet. I have doubts about this. I believe attempted murder was the worst crime anybody in that facility had committed. Some of them were there on driving violations. Some of them were there on nothing violations. And immigration attorney Jose Osorio says this whole campaign is entirely motivated by cruelty. As we mentioned last time, this place is made up of tents. In each tent, it's like a tent city. Each tent has 8 cages. Each cage has 32 bunks, and there's 3 toilets out in the middle of a unit. But there's also a ton of major issues like exposure to the elements, bugs, snakes, gators, crazy weather. It's all annoying. And we've been down this road before with Sheriff Joe Arpaio's tent city in Maricopa County, Arizona. And Eric, tell us a little bit about Joe Arpaio and his tent city. We need to do an episode down the road on this guy. He's work.
His whole the tent prison or tent jail, as it really is in Maricopa County out there and in Arizona, was based on the idea that Sheriff Joe said, well, if our troops can live a certain way in the Middle East, then they can live that way. Then individuals can live that way while being incarcerated and serving a sentence for misdemeanor. The only problem is, as we know, there are people that are in jail that are awaiting trial, and they could actually be innocent. And so we have people who were in these tents in the desert and in horrible conditions. He didn't feed them well. He did horrible things with them in terms of their uniform to try and make it so that individuals in the hierarchy of the jail would attack certain people. It was just an awful facility, and we're glad Sheriff Joe is no longer in charge of things out there.
Yeah, he's a nightmare. The man actually brought back chain gangs, and he would give high school credit to people who served on chain gangs, or he would say, oh, instead of sending you to... The policy was, instead of sending someone to like solitary confinement, you could be on a chain gang in the 100-degree heat instead. It's horrendous.
Yep.
So the idea is making cruelty theatrical and dehumanizing to people involved. And there and in Alligator Alcatraz. And oddly, in Florida, at Alligator Alcatraz, the state itself has more than 7,500 open beds in its jails and prisons that they could actually use if they really just needed beds, without spending that $450 million that they used to open the facility. So we see it's not even a necessity for detention beds. It's just for theater. And I watched too many interviews with Stephen Miller when researching this. I can't stand watching this guy.
Yeah.
He said that the ICE beds are already full, but the facilities out there regularly contract with ICE for more beds. And Stephen Miller said, in any sane country, Democrats would do it too, but they love the illegals. They hate the Americans. And he suggests the name Alligator Alcatraz is supposed to be a scare tactic for illegals to self-deport, is what he says. It's performatively stupid. He's trying to scare migrants back to their home countries, and I don't know if this is actually going to have any kind of deterrence effect at all. There hasn't been any research that I know of on this.
No, none whatsoever. So if there's no research on it, how can we know that it's actually, working as a deterrent? That's just nonsense.
No, it's all rhetoric. It's just empty rhetoric that means nothing.
Right.
Now, there has been some pushback from national and local politicians. In July, there was a major issue because Florida lawmakers and some members of Congress went to go tour Alligator Alcatraz. And as our policymakers, they should be allowed into any public facility. But they were turned away. Florida law is clear, though. where state legislators are allowed full access to inspect state-operated facilities. So it was actually unlawful to deny them access. So they filed this lawsuit, and they're given a limited tour to inspect conditions in the facility. And the facility, they noted bug infestations, crazy heat, over 90 degrees being regular there this summer. And on the tour, the lawmakers got to see a whole lot of cells not being used. They were not even allowed to view the cells that had detainees in them. They weren't allowed to see the medical facilities. They did not get to speak with detainees. They got to step like right in the doorway of an occupied tent, no further than the doorway. And they heard people yelling. And that's it. And so,
the fact that they, that our lawmakers are not able to see what the hell's going on, just goes to show you how much of a concern it really is. The fact that we're hiding what is going on there from, you say, okay, you don't want the media to see. All right. But the lawmakers, no, that, they're allowed to go in there and check to see what the hell's going on, to know what the conditions are. And if people are being harmed, if they're being mistreated, if there's lack of health care, if the food is proper for these individuals, to make sure we're not just starving people out. It's one of those things. There's a reason why they're hiding things.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they have something to be ashamed of. They don't want their shittiness coming to light. And I think that is hopefully well known, but of course the opinions are divided across party lines, even amongst the people who went there to see it.
Right.
Like Maxwell Frost, a U.S. representative, he called it an internment camp. He said people were chanting Libertad, which means freedom. U.S. Rep. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was down there. She said the only thing inside those cages are the bunk beds and 3 tiny toilets. She said these are really disturbing, vile conditions. This place needs to be shut the hell down. And also said the food is in small portions. I don't see how this could satisfy anyone nutritionally.
Wait, wasn't Debbie Wasserman Schultz the one who railroaded Bernie?
That is her. She's vile in her own ways. Yes. That is her. And may history ever remember that she did the wrong thing when it came to the 2016 election.
Yes.
We also have State Rep. Anna Escamani, who has been on a bunch of shows, and she said this process has gone down with no transparency whatsoever, with Governor Ron DeSantis handing out contracts to his friends to build what is essentially a concentration camp, which is what we went over last time. There's a lot of donors to the DeSantis campaign and to the Florida GOP, and it seems to be this weird coincidence where those donors seem to get these contracts.
Yeah, seem to get the facility. Not just run it, but build the damn thing too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So this is a surprise. It's not really a coincidence. So the Republicans have a much funnier take. Republican State Senator Blaise Ingoglia said, "I will tell you, I was in one of the areas where I laid down on one of the beds. This bed is actually more comfortable than my bed at home. I'm not kidding. I'm going to have that conversation with my wife."
Oh, damn. They must have Tempur-Pedics at Alligator Alcatraz.
That's where the money is going?
Yeah. That's why all that massive contract. Or, maybe my pillow guy has got a decent contract here and he's going to make a comeback. And, that Tempur-Pedic or, adjustable beds or whatever, they're doing well selling mattresses, and because we know that is some really deep horse shit there. I mean, it's that's the one where if you have a real reporter who's interviewing them, you say, really, it's more comfortable than your bed at home.
Yeah. Ask a real question, reporter.
Right. Hit back at that. Don't take that.
Reporter.
Right.
Yeah. Representative Michael Caruso has also commented on the facility saying, well, they're all male, they're over 18, they're all criminals. He claims that there's adequate food, water, air conditioning, and shower access. He said virtually nothing about this. The party line just gets repeated. State officials and Trump administration officials have said the reporting on the conditions of the facility are completely false, besides that guy who talks about the beds, I'm sure. The facility meets standards. Everything's in good working order. And we have also seen the state's immigration enforcement plan. Like that has been made a public document, which actually goes against what they're saying here. In the state's enforcement plan, there's actually discussion of what to do with unaccompanied minors in the facility, what to do with people over 70, what to do with juveniles, women with children, family groups, and babies in the document, which actually speaks to the degree to which they plan to go with this operation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was going to say, I thought there was a report out that, we're looking at only around 30% or 33% of them actually have criminal records. And that correct. There is, and then I forget what the percentage was that showed that there were detainees there under the age of 18. Anyways, and how they're going to handle that, can you bring kids in and then ship them back out? What do you do with these kids? And obviously if they were born here, they're US citizens. So that, there's a real issue with what the hell is going on with how we're handling this situation.
Yeah, it's unclear on exactly what's going to happen there, but I think we'll see later on as a small spoiler for the news. I don't know how much longer this facility itself will last.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is one drops and another will pop up in its place. Now, the state officials, they say this site is situated to withstand a Category 2 hurricane. However, a day after Trump's visit this summer, there was a small summer rainstorm that caused flooding throughout the facility. So maybe that's more doubtful. It's also troubling that the Trump administration dismantled the Department of Homeland Security Office for Civil Rights and Civil Liberties last March, with over 100 employees losing their jobs. And what this did was it cut any internal watchdogs that were left to assess the legality of immigration enforcement being done in this country. So there's nobody on the job to watch for any kind of abuse or neglect in the facility. They are down so many people that there's nobody there. There's no checks against power. And
right.
That's a problem.
Right. So if nobody's looking for it, of course it's never happening. Right. If we don't see it, if there's nobody there to say, hey, I see this happening, and then it's not happening. So they're in the clear.
Right. And the administration is a mess of contractors and different federal and state departments all pointing their finger at one another saying, hey, I thought you were in charge.
Yeah.
And so if something goes wrong, everyone is
points in a different direction. Yep.
There's no culpability.
Yep.
Now, the guy pushing for this facility from the very beginning, the guy who even announced it, is Jason Uthmeyer. He is the Attorney General of the state of Florida. He served as Chief of Staff for Governor Ron DeSantis from 2021 to 2025. And he actually managed his 2024 presidential campaign, which was, as we know, ultimately unsuccessful when he was pushed to the main stage, and we all saw how unlikable this man really is. Now, he was boosted to Attorney General after Florida Senator Marco Rubio joined the Trump administration. And then DeSantis appointed Ashley Moody, who is the then Attorney General. He appointed her to the Senate as the successor. Now, let's talk lawsuits. During its expedited construction, there's been some environmental groups like Friends of the Everglades and Center for Biological Diversity. They filed a lawsuit alleging that state and federal agencies ignored some important environmental laws in building the facility. They want the potential environmental impacts examined before anyone can proceed with the project. But the problem was the project was streamlined, it was expedited, and it went right through like a freight train. So these groups got together and they requested a temporary restraining order. And Governor DeSantis, he naysayed all these arguments. He said these organizations are trying to use the Everglades as a political tool and to hide the fact that they oppose immigration enforcement. So DeSantis claims the facility is temporary. He says they're going to put it up, they're going to break it down, and it's not going to leave any impact. It's a zero impact facility, and there's good reasons to expect a return to the status quo. The problem is in putting up anything like this, we don't know how temporary the facility is going to be. We don't know the expiration date for it, and that's a problem.
Yeah, and not only that, the impact that it has on the environment while individuals who work there, staff, are going back and forth to the facility, all of the trucks that are being used to bring in the various parts of the tent, the beds, all of that damage. What the hell's going on in there? Damage what the hell's going on with the Everglades. That's not used to that traffic. It's also, there's a lot more noise. There's a lot more light pollution, and that will have an immediate impact on what's going on in the area, driving animals away from that area.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's ruining this natural habitat in the Everglades.
Yep.
So they filed this lawsuit. Florida state attorneys also pushed back against the groups that filed the lawsuit, saying, no, there's not going to be any irreparable harm. And if they delayed the construction of Alligator Alcatraz, that would mean, quote, imperiling critical immigration enforcement. And they framed it as putting detainees that are currently held in facilities, putting them in danger. And these thoughts were also echoed by Department of Homeland Security Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin. She was quoted to say, this is a lazy lawsuit, and it ignores the fact that this land has already been developed for a decade.
A lazy lawsuit.
Yeah, a lazy lawsuit.
A lazy lawsuit. That's interesting. I have to ask some attorneys what they think of something being a lazy lawsuit and what that means.
Environmental groups also commented on the permanent harm they think could befall the area. There's some endangered species who live nearby, such as the Florida panther. Their football team is built on an endangered species.
That's hockey.
Shit. Don't they have some kind of big cat for their football team? Jaguar or something?
Jacksonville Jaguars, yeah.
Yes, we got there. All right.
Yeah.
There's also a poorly named bird of prey called the snail kite, which I looked up, like, what is the snail kite? It's a bird of prey. I expected it to be a snail or a kite. It's neither. And, of course, this is Native American land. The Miccosukee tribe of Indians of Florida live a few miles from the entrance. They have filed a lawsuit claiming this facility is built on sacred lands, burial grounds, and near where they hold their corn dance ceremony. So it's bad in many respects.
Yeah.
But let's talk about where it's good. Merchandise.
Yeah.
There has been some controversy with the Florida GOP online store selling branded merchandise to support tough on crime borders. And they have been advertising these sales through their Twitter. And I'll tell you what, you can get a t-shirt that says Alligator Alcatraz for $30, hats, $27, a mug, $25. And you can get 2 slim beverage coolers, which apparently they're calling koozies beverage coolers now. That will run you $15.
Wait, for 2 koozies, $15? That's insane.
It's too much.
I used to make koozies. You can make them literally for like 60 cents a piece.
You could make a cool koozie that doesn't say Alligator Alcatraz on it for like 60 cents.
Mm-hmm.
All of these prints are done on items that have been purchased from China.
Yeah. No kidding.
Unsurprising.
No kidding.
Printed in the United States, but on material that's from China.
So you'll be happy to know all of this merchandise says Alligator Alcatraz. It's got some fake gator claw marks, and it's got the Florida GOP logo on it. And you can also buy new Gulf of America merch on their site. It's equally uninteresting.
Right.
And oddly, the Florida Attorney General is also selling Alligator Alcatraz merch on his website. These include buttons, bumper stickers, shirts, hats, koozies, all the standard shit you expect. It's all lame, weak, and boring. Now, public opinion on the facility. A YouGov poll taken in early July found that of 3,000 people surveyed, 53% of people oppose it. 26% of people are in favor of the facility, while 18% of people shrug and they say, I don't quite know what to think. And in a June Quinnipiac study, results show that 57% of voters disapprove of Trump's handling of immigration issues. And a July Gallup poll shows a 62% disapproval rating of Trump's handling of immigration, with only a 35% approval.
And that 35%, I don't know what he would have to do for them to to say, oh, we don't approve of it. Those folks are diehards.
Yeah, these are the people who are like, who wear the Trump t-shirt and they don't really have any idea of what his policies are, but they just say, yeah, we support Trump.
Yeah, we're making America great. Yeah.
I don't think Trump has any idea what Trump's policies are. Like, he's the kind of guy who will believe like the last thing he was told by the last idiot who talked to him.
He will sign a paper that was slid in front of him and go,
and unfortunately, like the last person to talk to him is oftentimes people like Stephen Miller or Ron DeSantis. And so that's how we get, concentration camps in Florida.
Right.
Stephen Miller and Ron DeSantis would be like funny characters in a comedy if they had no power.
No, like if they were just on Veep, they would be incredible characters to laugh at. They're pretty much Jonah from Veep, like split up into two people.
But here's the thing, if 15 years ago those characters are on Veep, that's not real. That doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. Those people don't exist in politics. That's not real. And then lo and behold, they're real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're the real article. Now let's talk about our thoughts on Alligator Alcatraz. I really don't like anything about this. I really don't like how it's being treated as a look at us. We've taken human rights abuses and made it look like a joke because we're calling it Alligator Alcatraz. The White House and Department of Homeland Security Twitter accounts are posting shit like "Make America Safe Again," and they've got like AI images of alligators wearing ice hats. And these are not serious people, but their actions are having very serious effects on like these very vulnerable populations.
Yeah.
And in interviews, Trump is joking about how alligators are so fast that if you're trying to escape from the facility, you have to run away in a zigzag pattern for your chances of survival to go up.
I mean, like to be fair, like putting the alligators in ice hats does like suggest that members of ICE are dangerous animals, and I do believe that's true. So that's not a misrepresentation, I don't think.
I agree. They're trying to make it cute and cheeky is how I see it trying to come across, though.
Right.
They're trying to normalize it, and that's what's wrong with it for me. And all this is red meat for shitheads like Laura Loomer, who's tweeted who tweeted it on June 30th. Alligator lives matter. The good news is alligators are guaranteed at least 65 million meals if we get started now. And these are provocateurs who are out there to try and get our attention, like Ann Coulter, Michael Savage used to do. They're unfunny, and they somehow carry some influence. But these are human beings, and this is like not civilized discourse that we're having about what to do with immigration issues. This is dictatorship that's enhancing the neoliberal state and the prison industrial complex while memifying cruelty, memifying shittiness. Sorry, Brett, you were saying?
So let's go back to that. So they say we need to run that back to really unpack the actual racism here. So they say there will be 65 million meals for the alligators, right?
Yeah.
Implying that that's the number of illegal or undocumented immigrants in the country, which is who they're housing there. But there's only 10.5 to 14 million people that are undocumented in the United States. 65 million is the population of Hispanics in the United States. So, so they're suggesting that everyone Hispanic in the United States is here illegally, which is racism.
or to be eaten by an alligator.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they could be talking about another 65 million people, but we know the context, we know the subtext, we can read right through that.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Also, the Alligator Lives Matter is another. It's just another like not taking Black Lives Matter seriously. It's the whole thing is just end-to-end racism packed into a box that. Yeah, she's a provocateur. She's tweeting shit like this just to try and make controversy, to try and get people riled up because that is her job.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think one of the things that we have to remind ourselves is that there is a certain segment of our society that is more than embracing this racism that's going on. They actually will fully with their chest say, yes, I am a racist. Mm-hmm. And this is a white country, and what the hell is this place in Arkansas that's this community where they bought 100 and some odd acres for whites only to live. They're getting backing from it, and the more they can use that to divide people, they're going to keep doing it.
And it should be pointed out too that this is not a specifically white thing. I had a African American coworker who threatened to call ICE on one of my supervisors who is from Iran, and I'm just like, don't do that, dude. There's other people in this workspace that might be targeted. Don't.
Because of a coworker disagreement?
That's correct.
No.
Yeah, that's so petty.
It's so petty, and it's disgusting to me too. He's like, I'll just call ICE on him. I'm like, I mean, he's here legally. He's like a naturalized citizen. I think he's been here for 20 years, man.
Yeah. You still don't want any heat from ICE.
Exactly. I don't want ICE coming into our workplace, and they're not really allowed to either. So one fun thing about the post office is police are allowed to come in, but they're not allowed to be armed in any way. The only people that are allowed to be armed in a postal facility is the offices of Inspector General or the postal police. Other than that, it's a federal crime to have a gun in a postal facility.
That's dope. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had to ask any officers to disarm before coming in?
I'm not going to ask a fucking officer to get rid of their gun. They're going to pull it on me. They see that as a direct threat. I don't. Hey, excuse me. I'm a union steward. You need to get that gun away from here. You know what happens right after that. Come on.
I saw you going for that soundboard. I was curious what you were going for. I knew it wasn't Ohio.
No. Disarm after I discharge. I think one of the things, thinking about this whole thing about Alligator Alcatraz and its existence and the situation that we're in right now, I think it reminds me of Dostoevsky's quote about, how we, looking at a society should be judged not by how we treat, its outstanding citizens, but how we treat its criminals. But I think, a lot of these folks aren't even criminals. It's, just how we treat our inmates, how we treat those who have less than anyone else or in a worse situation than anyone else. And, the rest of the world is just looking at us and just shaking their, other than Russia. Of course, Russia approves of what the hell is going on, but everybody else is just looking at us like, what the hell is going on in the United States?
Oh, in Israel, I think they're very good with what we're doing too.
Yeah. And they're on board.
Yeah. Now, this is clearly an example of things to come. The big, beautiful bill allows for $45 billion for immigration detention camps to be built over the next 4 years.
Right.
So I'm sure we can see more makeshift internment camps like this set up over the current administration. And there has also been speculation that other red states will be cracking the doors open on other facilities in no time.
Mm-hmm. So just to put that in perspective, $45 billion for facilities. So Alligator Alcatraz cost $450 million to make. So they can make 100 of these with that kind of money.
Well, and I'm sure there are plenty of, I'm thinking Oklahoma. They have plenty of land where they can build one of these facilities and make it significantly larger, and they're not going to be disturbing anything because it's that desert land where, they're going to say, oh, we're not disturbing any type of animal out here.
Yeah, but then again, Oklahoma, a lot of that is native lands too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So they might try.
But that
to
doesn't mean
build on
they
native
will
lands.
listen to that.
Oh, no. They think that's their land. Yeah.
No. They find like an old fracking site out there and put up some tents on top, and you got yourself an immigration detention.
Mm-hmm. Bummer.
Any other thoughts on Alligator Alcatraz or this immigration enforcement plan that we are looking at in our near future?
No.
It's bad.
Bad.
maybe no. I'm going to go with a no.
0 soups?
0 out of 5 soups.
0 out of 5. Well put. Hey, do we think that this would be happening if the wall had been finished? Is there any kind of speculation on that? Like, would we actually be better off if Trump had gotten his stupid wall completed on his first administration?
No, people are going to find a way, and walls don't stop people. Like, walls have never really stopped people from getting place to place. You know, you look historically, look at East and West Germany, you know, you look at all types. Like, walls just don't work. People get through. People will find a way.
Yeah. It would have made no difference, you know. Plus, you know, this is him going after the people that were here that have dark skin. Mm-hmm. As we've said, you know, the majority of them don't have criminal records.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So people hurting nobody who are still expected to suffer. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's leave it on that downer note. And put up some news.
All right. You ready for some news from the Razor Wire?
Bring it.
Fresh news, hot off the Razor Wire.
News hot off the Razor Wire starts off with, from our judge, tear down Alligator Alcatraz within 60 days.
Yeah.
A federal judge in Miami has ruled that operations at the controversial detention facility Alligator Alcatraz must begin to wind down, ordering state and federal officials to stop transferring detainees there immediately and relocate current detainees within 60 days. 2 weeks after U.S. District Judge Kathleen Williams ordered a temporary pause on any new construction at Alligator Alcatraz in response to a suit by environmental groups, she has now ordered the dismantling of equipment at the detention camp, such as fencing, lighting, generators, and other infrastructure. Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer filed a notice indicating the state would appeal to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit. So it's not, excuse me, it's not a done deal. It will be appealed, but this is a step in the right direction to get rid of this. But where we're at now is the U.S. Department of Homeland Security previously said in court filings that it was not in charge of operations of Alligator Alcatraz, and the facility was solely the responsibility of Florida. Again, people pointing at other people about things, using state funds on state lands under state emergency authority. The state argued that the environmental group that had filed the lawsuit are seeking relief under the National Environmental Policy Act, which does not apply to state agencies. Furthermore, the judge in her 82-page ruling filed on Thursday night, Williams disagreed, stating the project was requested by the federal government, built with a promise of full federal funding, constructed in compliance with ICE standards, staffed by deputized ICE task force officers acting under color of federal authority and at the direction of and supervision of ICE officials. She wrote, and exists for the sole purpose of detaining and deporting those subjects to federal immigration enforcement. So therefore, it is not all up to Florida, and we can't point to them, and Florida can't point to the feds and, you know, private industry, whatever. It's definitely under ICE, and the individuals who are being held there all have to do with supposedly federal immigration enforcement.
And this is just them like tossing the complicity hot potato like back and forth over and over, just to make sure no one's held accountable. There's like no accountability in this process. No one's like saying, "Hey, this is mine," and so everyone's like, "Oh, it's Florida's," and Florida's like, "Oh, it's the federal government's," and so like no one's ever going to be held accountable for any of this, which is
nobody wants to own it.
I mean, like. In creating this, there should be some kind of paperwork that says who this belongs to, right?
Right.
Exactly that.
And also, like, if it doesn't belong to the federal government or Florida, then how can they enforce this at all?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty damn obvious who's paying for it.
Right, right,
This is coming from our federal tax dollars, and as she stated in her ruling, the people who are working there are being paid for and working for ICE as task force officers. So they're there under federal authority. So clearly, it's the federal government.
Yeah, what do we think happens to that $450 million? Like, I know some of it has already been spent. The money that's left on the table, do the contractors keep that? Does that just go back into the pot for immigration enforcement?
I bet you it's all been spent. I'm willing to bet they got rid of that pretty quickly, and they're getting more and more money.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I should point out on this is that it's a preliminary injunction, and a preliminary injunction is a temporary order. And so the court is going to keep this order going until they reach the final decision in the case. They're still not going to house any more migrants there in the meantime. They're going to be dismantling it, but we know that Florida is going to appeal this. And the Florida Attorney General, Meyer, says, we're not stopping in our mission. And Ron DeSantis is saying this isn't even a deterrent. He says, we are totally in the right on this. And DeSantis also announced that he has another facility getting ready to go called the Deportation Depot, which he announced last week. And it's the same idea. It's a migrant detention facility in Florida. They're taking a state prison that's about 45 miles west of Jacksonville. And this prison got shuttered a few years ago. And they're refurbishing it. They're using it for immigration enforcement. And they're expecting development of the facility to cost around like $6 million to get it up to date. It's going to kick off holding around 1,300 people, but they're adding beds for 700 more, so it can hold around 2,000 people when it's done. And DeSantis says he hopes it will be a force multiplier for deportations. And the Department of Homeland Security has also announced a partnership with Indiana to build the Speedway Slammer, an immigration enforcement center near Indianapolis. So they're naming all of these like these cute wink names, which is so annoying.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I know they're trying to trigger the libs and whatever, but it really is like an annoying, disgusting thing.
Yeah, it is.
But FEMA has announced a federal grant program that's offering states funding to build detention centers. And
FEMA, the disaster relief federal agency.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I said when I read it.
It's like, yes. A hurricane happens and they can't do anything, but time to build a detention facility. Hey, we got all the money we need. What? Come on.
Yeah. It'll be useful for like when like 90 girls die in Texas from flooding.
Right. Yeah.
My favorite part of this story, if there's any bright spot to be found, the Florida GOP had already made a bunch of gear for Deportation Depot that used a similar logo to Home Depot. And it had like a Home Depot type logo. And Home Depot said, hey, Florida, stop using our brand, dudes. And they pushed back, and Florida GOP had to pull their shit from the shelves because they were trying so hard to be cute.
That kind of surprised me. Home Depot is pretty good about supporting the GOP.
They are actually. Yeah. I believe their CEO.
But even this was a line too far.
Yeah.
we'll support their them running for office, but we aren't going to allow them to get close to our logo. That's too far.
I agree. It was odd to hear, but you know what? If we have to find a bright spot in this whole thing, it is that Home Depot actually said, we've had enough.
Looks like they're going to have to go with Lowe's now.
Yeah. What would be a good name? Like, what could work Lowe's into it?
Oh, or Ace Hardware. We could do a racist hardware.
Yeah, Race Hardware.
Race Hardware. Yeah.
All right. That's all the news we can use. And anything else to report, you two?
Not
that is
really.
all with the news and all that I have.
I have something to report.
Okay.
This podcast is sponsored by Roger Williams University School of Justice Studies.
It most certainly is.
They have a few good degrees, I think, in areas such as criminal justice, legal studies, forensic science, political science, sociology, and anthropology at the undergraduate level. And then at the graduate level, they have master's degrees in criminal justice and public administration that are available for folks.
Holy smokes. It sounds like a one-stop shop for all my justice needs.
It absolutely is. It's all that you need to do if you are interested in anything in terms of expanding your knowledge in the world of justice.
Thank you, Roger Williams University School of Justice Studies, for your patronage.
Indeed.
Now, I think we should move on to everyone's favorite segment.
Yes.
I think it's about that time for a movie minute.
Movie minute.
Movie minute. Movie minute. 60 seconds with producer Britt to talk about movies.
All right, let's put 60 seconds on the clock. So, last time, Judge Bronson here sentenced me to watch Johnny Frank Garrett's Last Word from 2016. It is a horror film directed by Simon Rumley, a British outsider horror director, maybe best known for The Living and the Dead from 2006 and Red, White, and Blue from 2010. And by best known, I mean completely unknown. If you've heard of those movies, no, you didn't. I don't trust you. So the movie is very loosely based on the documentary The Last Word, which is a documentary that argues that Johnny Frank Garrett was innocent. Johnny Frank Garrett was a person who was actually put to death for the assault and murder of like a 79-year-old nun in Texas back in the day. This movie takes it a step further, arguing that Garrett was not only innocent, but also capable of placing a curse on the jury and everyone involved in convicting him. The film follows different members of the jury, the prosecutor, and others involved in Frank Garrett's execution as they battle Garrett's curse, which is systemically driving everybody crazy and pushing them towards the same fate as Johnny Frank Garrett. The ultimate fate. This movie, it wasn't good.
You can say, yeah, painful.
It felt fairly original, and I wasn't necessarily bored at most points, but the direction was bad. The special effects were pretty bad, and the pacing was very like run and stumble. Altogether, it wasn't the worst film I've ever seen, but it wasn't anywhere near the best. I wouldn't say don't watch it, but I'd never suggest anybody watch this film. Altogether, 2 out of 5 soups.
Wow. I wasn't expecting 2.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't bored, and I think that was its like main redeeming quality. Is like there were some moments in the film where I was just like, "Wait, what? Holy shit!" Yeah. There was a certain scene with like a teacher in a classroom that made me go, "Huh?" Yeah, it was. It's
such a bad movie. The documentary was. The document there's supposedly a documentary that is supposed to be kind of real, but it gets into some of the hokey stuff about the spirits, like you talked about, and how he's launched these spirits to come back and get revenge, and all these people that have died or suffered horrible things after he was executed. Mm-hmm. What is interesting though is that in his case, I mean, if here we have somebody who was extremely poor and very uneducated, and he very clearly gets railroaded by the system there in Amarillo, and they sentence him to death. And eventually, they are able to find that there was an individual from Cuba who was being held in a New Mexico prison who admitted to raping and killing the nun.
Yeah.
And when this information was, and this is after the execution, the mom just really wanted the state to kind of apologize. The state then turned around and said, if you continue to push this, we will sue you.
What?
And Texas does not make mistakes. That is the letter. On the letter, though, that is the exact quote. Texas does not make mistakes. So it's very interesting. If we look historically, Ann Richards was throughout most of this. Ann Richards was the governor, and she was probably one of the most powerful Democrats in the country. And she could have, forced a greater look at this. But when she was trying to get reelected, she wanted to make sure that she was looking tough on crime, and so she wasn't going to. She wasn't going to look into this. And so she did not help out Johnny Frank Garrett, and Bush ended up winning anyways. And he became governor of Texas, and his administration is the one that put out, "We do not make mistakes." It's, just the arrogant level of the state of Texas saying we don't make mistakes, when clearly this guy who got executed had nothing to do with the murder. And
I'm actually surprised they didn't use that as like political ammunition. Like when Bush was getting elected, be like, see what they do? They kill innocent people, which is something that they would do in this day and age. But like, back then, I guess, he wanted to continue to murder people with 70 IQs. So he was like, no, that was a righteous one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be hard for them to condemn her mistakes and then continue to go on and make the same mistakes. But yeah, it is that like arrogance that like wanting to be liked that is Democrats' constant failure in that respect.
Yeah,
right.
Like I think of when Clinton was on the campaign trail and he returned to Arkansas to have a man executed who did have like a 70 IQ as well. Like just constant.
Yeah.
Yep. The same story over and over again.
Yes. Anyway.
So you didn't see the movie.
Yeah. It's interesting. I thought you were going to give it much fewer soups, maybe even like one spoonful of soup.
No, you've given me much worse films on here. This one was mildly tolerable.
Okay.
Oh.
So, by the power invested in me by the state of Rhode Island, I sentence you to watch the film Sudden Death from 1995.
Okay.
Starring Jean-Claude Van Damme and Powers.
Ooh, all right. I'm into that. It's been a while since I've seen a Powers Booth. He's pretty fun in everything he's in.
I watched it last week. I have a lot of thoughts. I can't wait to discuss it with you.
All right. Into it. All right. Love some JCVD.
Now, I think before we call it quits, I think it's time for a final meal. Can we get like some organ music here or something?
Yeah. I'll cut it in later.
No, cool. Yeah, final meal. Today's final meal is Keith Zettlemoyer, a man executed in Pennsylvania by lethal injection in 1995. Now, Zettelmeyer's crime is that of murder. In May of 1980, Zettelmeyer's 25 years old. He had robbed a Radio Shack near Sunbury, Pennsylvania, and stole thousands of dollars worth of equipment with his accomplice, Ken Kipple. That's something you don't hear about in present day, because I don't know if Radio Shack still exists or if they even have like hundreds of dollars worth of equipment. But Ken Kipple, his accomplice, got caught, and he points the finger at Keith Zettlemoyer, and Zettlemoyer decided to confide in his buddy Charles DeVetzko. But Charles was not that good of a buddy, and he decides to testify against Zettlemoyer. And Zettlemoyer gets wind of this, so he kidnaps his friend he had told about the crime. He kidnaps Charles DeVetzko and drives him to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Now we cut to the perspective of two police officers on patrol in October of 1980. They're rolling through a wooded area, and they hear gunfire nearby, and they roll up slowly. They see a 1967 Ford van parked on a dirt road. They hear some rustling in the bushes, and they go, "Hey, you back there, come out." And Keith Zettlemoyer comes out with a gun and a flashlight. And he said, "Oh, sorry, officers, I was back here shooting rats." And they say, "No, dude, drop the gun, put these cuffs on." And one of the officers searches the area and finds the body of our guy, Charles DeVetzko. He'd been shot 4 times, twice in the van while he was handcuffed. And Zettlemoyer dragged him into the woods and fired 2 more shots into his body. 1981, Keith gets convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. After 14 years on death row, he begs the courts to die. He fires his lawyers. He says, "I have a brain disease. It's making my life a living hell. I'm done. I'm out." And he was the first person executed in Pennsylvania after the U.S. reinstated the death penalty in 1976. And He's the first person executed in Pennsylvania in 33 years, and one of only 3 people put to death in Pennsylvania since they got the death penalty back on the books. His last meal, 2 cheeseburgers, fries, chocolate pudding, and chocolate milk.
Sounds pretty good.
Pretty simple. Yeah, I would say that's pretty simple.
It's a very like a high school cafeteria meal right there.
Yeah, I agree. And I wonder, like, if he's the first person executed in 33 years, did they give him much of a choice in terms of what he even could have? Is the kitchen ready to make any of this stuff? I don't know. But that is our last meal.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Indeed. Yeah. Well, that's our last meal, and that's the last word. We got anything else to say on anything?
Thank you, Roger Williams University School of Justice Studies.
Very true. Thank you very much, Roger Williams University School of Justice Studies, and all your wonderful programs.
And it's nearly baby time. Let's go.
It is.
It's baby time.
Yeah. Let's go.
Which, it's for the baby, it's lights on, but for us,
it's lights out.
Lights out, baby.
Lights out!